Welcome to a presentation about our paper. The title of the paper is the impact of disclosing inventory scarcity messages on sales and online retailing. This paper I wrote in collaboration with my colleagues Sanho Park from Seoul National University, Chris Tang from UCLA, and Wei Yin from NSU. And as a matter of introduction, I'd like to briefly mention the motivation for the paper. And it's basically a well-known principle that low search costs on the internet enable consumers to compare many retail offers freely, which in turn exacerbates certain purchasing behaviors by consumers, including the active pursuit of bargains and the postponement of purchases in anticipation of future price drops. So as a way to counteract these behaviors, in many cases, online retailers have offered over the years what's called flash sales. These are events of where they sell deeply discounted stock keeping units, SKUs, for very limited times, usually 24 hours, usually just a few hours, during which they make available to consumers real-time information on every SKU's inventory level available for purchase. And so the goal for retailers is to induce consumers not to miss out on these events by showing them how fast inventory is decreasing as demand for these products materializes. And some researchers have studied this phenomenon and trying to understand how consumers react to the exposure to this information about these inventory reductions. And they basically have found that this exposure, as inventory decreases, increases the deals frequency of purchase. So, these are fairly well-known events. The flash sales, they occur with certain periodicity, but they do not represent a mainstream retail environment. They're basically limited to a small fraction, relatively speaking, of online retail sales. The majority of e-commerce purchases involve the demand for durable goods available for sale over indefinite time horizons, not just a few hours at a time. And the replenishment occurs for this inventory multiple times indefinitely over time. So as a result, the way selling works in these mainstream environments differs quite significantly from those in flash sales settings, where these retailers promote generally very heavily discounted items in very limited quantity for very short duration. And the idea is to attract bargain hunters who are inherently interested in taking advantages of these temporary promotions. And so obviously, these consumers are naturally more likely to purchase because they're going to behave opportunistically when they observe that inventory is running low. So, this is not necessarily the case in mainstream settings, particularly involving durable goods. So I'm not talking about perishable items like food or seasonal items. In this case, consumers make purchasing decisions based on personal needs, not necessarily based on opportunity. And so in these cases, for consumers, Low inventory levels, we argue, may actually undermine the confidence in the retailer quality of service. When they see inventory running low, they may think, the retailer is not really doing a good job managing the inventory. So, they may not even be able to fulfill my order. Information may not be accurate. Or also, low levels of inventory, being exposed to that information may have an adverse influence on the inferences that consumers make available for the quality of the products available. They may, for example, infer that the quality may not be as good. And they may also infer that the retailer has chosen to forego replenishing this inventory because the products are undesirable. They may think the products, the retailer may think the products are going to become obsolete. And so, to the extent that low search costs allow consumers on the web to look for products pretty much anywhere, the exposure to low inventory quantities may actually induce consumers to forego buying the items, and in the end, that's going to reduce sales. So we may have the complete opposite effect as what has been observed in flash sales environments. So, that's basically, as a matter of introduction, the background for this research and the motivation for the research. Our goal then is to examine in the paper the impact that posting disinformation has on daily sales. And in particular, we work with an online retailer selling durable goods over multiple inventory replenishment cycles without any restrictions or in terms of the amount of time the products are available to sale. And information about inventories is provided based on what we label scarcity, scarcity messages, the disclosure of scarcity messages. And basically, the way it works is when the product's the inventory reaches a threshold of 5 units, so it goes down to 5 units in inventory, the retailer displays message letting consumers know that there is low inventory, that inventory is 5 units or less. And the idea then is to let consumers know that inventory is running low without providing them with exact information about the inventories. So, again, the idea is to analyze the disclosure of this information, inventory information, in an environment that may be more generalizable than what flash sales environments are, and understand how this information influences demand when that demand depends on needs, consumer needs, as opposed to opportunity. The empirical setting, as I mentioned before, is an online retailer. They sell home goods, so products for the home. And this is an example of one of those products. And as you can see here, the information in this particular case is letting consumers know that products, the inventory is running low, that there's 5 units or less in inventory. When inventory levels are above 5, then this message does not appear. It simply doesn't show up. As soon as inventory reaches 5, 4, 3, then the message is displayed. So we evaluated 199 stock keeping units during 18 months between August 1st, 2014 and January 31st, 2016. So all these products had multiple inventory cycles during these 18 months. So that was an important consideration. We're not looking at news vendor type of inventory settings, which are the type of settings, in news vendor settings that you see in flash sales. So, what did we find? We found that the disclosure of inventory information, this inventory scarcity information, using these upper bound messages saying we have 5 units or less in inventory, it basically has a negative effect on daily sales quantities. So the amount of units per SKU sold per day decreases. And on average, we find that the disclosure of these messages decreases this amount by almost 18% after controlling for SKU fixed effects. And we also find that this effect is more pronounced for items that are sold in greater quantities, so, the better selling items, and that price discounts, lowering the prices during these periods when we analyze the inventory cycles is actually a more effective way to influence sales positively. So you could think about, how to offset the negative effects of inventory disclosure with these price discounts. Based on these results, we provided in the paper, and you can look at all the details there, boundary conditions for the different effects on sales caused by the disclosure of inventory informations and discounts when selling this type of goods online. So I think that, overall, that's the broader contribution. And so these reactions, these adverse reactions in sales to these inventory levels, disclosures, the scarcity messages are certainly non-trivial. And they tend to be a lot more amplified. They're more acute for products that are more obscure. They're not mainstream. They don't sell as much. And for products that are priced higher, products that have higher value. So for those products, the disclosure of these messages has particularly acute adverse effects on sales. So if a retailer wants to use these scarcity messages, they definitely don't want to focus on these types of products, high value, as well as more obscure products. They want to look at products that they're selling at a very good price, which is consistent with what flash sales do, which is provide heavily discounted products. And also they want to provide that type of information for products that do not sell in large amounts. So for more obscure products. For more mainstream products, it becomes a complicated effect. It becomes an adverse effect. Okay, so those are the overall findings. In terms of future research, there are a couple of areas that we highlighted in the paper where additional research could focus on. One is to examine other product categories, and there are two particularly interesting product categories that we thought might be good to examine. One is, for example, home improvement goods. These are items that are purchased in sets. So, you go buy, tiles or you know, items that are usually you want to buy in certain multiple amounts, and so you require a specific set of different a different number of units per product. So obviously, if inventory is running low and you are provided that information, you're not going to place an order. Another type of product is books. Books have fixed cover prices. Books have a price that is displayed, printed literally on the book itself. And the idea is to provide consumers an idea of what the value of the product is. That's what's called the list price or the MSRP. And so, you know, by providing that information, consumers have a very good idea of how much value they are getting from a particular discount that the retailer may be offering. So, you know, if the product has a fixed price or a listed price of $30, the consumer can immediately infer how good a discount is because that information is available. So if the retail price is $25 instead of $30, the consumer can understand how good a sale is, and that obviously is going to influence the consumer's behavior in terms of how opportunistic the consumer is going to be in buying a product that is deemed to have a very good discount. Also, the other areas to evaluate different forms of inventory disclosure. In our case, the retailer was disclosing inventory once it reached 5 units or below. There may be thresholds, higher or lower thresholds, that may provide better results. Maybe 5 is too low a threshold, and if they provide a threshold of 10 or 20, if they use that threshold of 10 or 20, the effect may not be as adverse or as acute. The other one, the other alternative form of inventory disclosure may involve the way in which information is framed. In the case of Amazon, you can see here the retailer lets consumers know how much inventory there is available for sale, but immediately below it states that there is more inventory on its way. So the idea is to let consumers know, yes, we're running inventory low, but we're planning to replenish this inventory. So it's not that we're discontinuing the product or the product is not really high quality. So that may reassure consumers that the product is not undesirable and buffer that negative effect. So those are the 2 areas of research that we thought might be interesting in examining. And I want to thank you for your attention to this video, and please feel free to contact me with any comments or questions. Thank you very much.